Lila, Stafford.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope, open my eyes to see the world through different eyes, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. It is a Monday, 12th day of October in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is Restoring Hope Live. The regular cast of crew is on board for us today. Of course, the incredible Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, who we like to call Oliver Wendell Douglas, because he's a farmer now. Retired 35 years wearing a white lab coat, probably never getting it dirty, and now you shuffle more manure in one day than you ever had to in 35 years working for the government.
I should tell you that I did get my lab coat dirty.
How?
I used to do blood alcohols.
Oh.
Blood on it.
Oh. How do you get blood out of a white coat?
I don't know. I just never washed it.
Oh. 35 years, he never watched it. All right, and the lovely Lila Stafford in the house. Of course, Frank is producing today, and today we get the rare opportunity. How long have we been doing this show? Almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never heard your story.
Right.
Why is that?
I don't know.
You feel that's my fault?
No.
No? I don't know why. I mean, we heard you and Jim's together,
Right.
and we've heard your families,
Right.
but we've never heard yours. So, is there anything you don't want me to ask you? I mean,
No.
just ask me now. Tell me now. Nobody's listening. Shh. Those of you
No,
listening.
my life has always been an open book.
Right. Mine too. Mine too. You know, I'll tell you a funny story. Years ago, I was on the radio with a guy, and his name was Jimmy O'Neill. Now, you might remember Jimmy O'Neill because you're older than I am. Not much, but a little. Before there was American Bandstand, there was a show called Shindig. You either one of you remember that?
I remember Shindig,
I
but
remember
I
that.
don't think it was before.
American Bandstand?
No.
Okay. Anyway, the host of that was Jimmy O'Neill. Well, Jimmy O'Neill ended up being a morning guy in Omaha, and I got to work for him at Coil. And he said, Mac, and I was like 18, first in my radio. The only reason I was working at Coil is because I had a voice. I didn't know how to use it yet, but I had that voice. And Jimmy said in his office one day, he said, you're going to have to decide who's on the radio. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, is it you, Mac McCoy, married to this woman with these children and went out to this restaurant last night, and today I'm not having a very good day. Oh, my mother died, da-da-da-da-da. Or Mac McCoy, perfect announcer, nothing about your personal life, and it's all about music and radio. And I remember looking at him going, I don't know how you do the second one. I mean, how do you become a personality on the radio and actually create a relationship with your listeners and they not know anything about you? So same with me. Always been an open book. Always been an open book. And when I got sober 1,988 days ago, I really thought I was going to be anonymous. I think I've told you this before. For the first time in my life, I was not going to discuss a major part of my life. And God showed me about 75 days into it that wasn't his plan.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where this show idea came from. Well, if I can't be anonymous, then I'm going to be all out and all in. So anyway, I respect you for that, by the way. I think people like you help more people than anybody else because you're so relatable. Now, I also know that there's people who probably when you and I speak at a meeting and we roll our lives out there, that they go, oh, boy, I can't do that. And there are sponsors for those type of people also, and I respect that.
I was criticized by someone a couple of weeks ago for congratulating my husband on Facebook for 26 years of being sober and just explain a little bit what it was like back in the day and what it's like now. And it was all, I was very mindful of what I was doing, but it was directed towards my husband, but also towards those people that are having troubles. And it was like so that they could see the light.
Yeah.
You know, if you're having troubles today, that doesn't mean that it's always going to be that way. With hard work, look what your life can turn out to be.
Yeah.
But I really caught it from one guy who.
Someone in the program.
Yes.
Okay. Someone who you work with.
No,
just
somebody that was a friend.
But you didn't out your husband. Your husband's just like you. Everybody knows he's in recovery.
He just thought I was going against the traditions of a 12-step program.
I know a few people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I say the J name in a meeting, I'll get 3 or 4 people will come up to you know what the J name is? Jesus.
Oh.
See, in AA, it's the God of our understanding. Did you notice last Saturday how good I did on that? I talked about the God of my understanding because I just didn't feel like riling anybody up that day. But you say the name of Jesus in a 12-step meeting, I can tell you, I can see the eyes in the room look at me and just with and they might be the biggest Jesus freaks in there. But it is the God of my understanding, and I've come to respect that. By the way, I'm not, well, never mind. Well, yeah, I'll say what my current sponsoree that I've been working so hard on gets his 1-year chip this Saturday.
Oh, good.
Yeah. This is a guy, I won't say his name because it's not my job. But when I owned restaurants and bars, this was the guy that would show up at about 11:15 in the morning. And the door was unlocked. He knew the employee entrance, and he'd come in and he'd sit down, and the bartender knew what he wanted. And then when I owned multiple places, we found out that, after lunch, I'd go over to the other place to see how things were going, and there he'd be in the afternoon at the bar. And then by about 4:30 or 5 in the afternoon, that was the end of his day. I mean, physically, emotionally, and biologically. And he walked into his first 12-step meeting with his wife, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but he said to me, I knew I was in the right place when I saw you there. Because any guy who can live his life the way I lived my life and have sobriety, at that time a little over 4 years, I know I can do it. And he asked me to be a sponsor, and it has been, as difficult as Cruiser was over here, this has just been, it just makes me cry. I want to cry right now. He worked so hard at the steps. And when we did his 5th, he went on and did his 6th and 7th by going to his hometown and taking his great aunt to church. And that was a moment that he never would have had he not been sober.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. All right. Lila Stafford, born and raised in Des Moines, Iowa. As I recall, you were a roughneck. Roosevelt, Rough Rider. And you had, and you can go into any depth you want on this, but you came from a prominent family. Your father was incredibly successful. And I know that his mother was one of your favorites, or was it your mother's mother?
Both of my grandmothers were very important in my life.
Which is who was Coco?
Neither one was Coco.
Oh.
Coco was my drunk name.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's right.
So when I went out and got drunk, I was somebody else.
You wouldn't say your name.
No.
So did you grow up with alcohol abuse in the family?
Yeah, there was, it was normal to me because I thought everyone lived this way. But my parents had parties all the time. There was always alcohol. My dad would come home from work and have 1 or 2 drinks at 5 o'clock. But I think that's just what people did. Or, that now that I'm older, I think, you were attracted to what you are. And so my parents' friends were just like them. So to me, at a young age, that was my whole world. Yeah. So I assumed that everybody drank like my parents. And there weren't any big problems with that. But it was just every adult I knew drank.
Now, your mother and father have passed.
Yes.
Would you have, now knowing what you know now, would you consider them alcoholics?
I wouldn't say alcoholics, but I would say they were
Do they have some of the isms?
Not so much the isms, but they did. They drank, and I saw them both high at different times.
Okay.
But see, I still have a problem. And I'm sure there's some listeners out there that even though my father's passed, it's like for me to say that he was an alcoholic. That's not for me to say, but it would be very difficult for me to say that, just because it would be like I feel like I'm being disloyal to him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and my parents, I was raised. You were in Des Moines, I was in Beatrice, but I think we were raised the same.
Yeah.
And there was the supper club, and I could name off the 5 or 6 couples, and the alcohol always flowed, but I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
It was so regular. My dad had come home, and he'd have a couple Budweisers until we bought the Coors distributorship, and then he started drinking Coors. I got to tell you, that was a big deal. That was a big deal when Dad went from Budweiser, because I didn't understand why he would go from Budweiser red and white cans to these creamy silver cans. And I didn't even realize the business aspect of it. And then one day I'll never forget it. He drove me into this refrigerated warehouse, and there were pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets of Coors beer. I'll never forget that memory. Cold, and then they'd go to Ancient Age.
Yeah.
But I never saw inappropriate behavior that I think came from alcohol.
Yeah, see, that's the same with me. I mean, I saw my parents having fun, but I saw one incident with my father later on in life, but other than that, growing up, I never did. My grandmother lived with us too, my mother's mother, from 6th grade on, and she had a drink probably starting at 4 or 5 o'clock all evening.
Same drink?
Same drink. And then...
Was it in a 42-ounce can?
No. No. And then she had a chauffeur that worked for her that was with us too, and then he would have a drink, so it was just what they did.
Yeah. Is that the guy eventually you had to go make an amends?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how about siblings? They're all living, right?
Yeah. There are 5 of us, and see, I'm having the same problem with this, but I will tell you that everyone, like, I have an older brother who said he knows he's an alcoholic, but he chooses. No one is so bad that they, I would say everyone drinks, and like when we're all at the lake, they all drink a lot. But I wouldn't consider any of them. Well, that isn't true.
But you see their behavior change.
Yes.
In the course of drinking.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that does to you what it does to me. It convicts me that I've made the right decision that I shouldn't drink anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You don't need to say any more about that. So when was your first drink?
Well, as children with that many adults living around our house that were drinking, you would just go take a sip of something. But actually drinking, I'm going to change our thing. We usually say 14 around here.
14 is usually the date.
I think for me it was 15 or 16.
Okay.
And Roosevelt at that time was known for being a party school.
Well, you were the Rough Riders.
Yeah.
You had Valley was in existence, but certainly not that big. Okay. But you were the most Western high school until you got into West Des Moines.
Yeah.
So yours was the south of Grand.
Yeah, and we were the best at all the athletic events and number 1 in football, basketball, all that stuff. So, and there were every weekend there were parties after the football or basketball games, and that was starting in 9th grade, and then I was in a synchronized swimming club that was known for. I mean, we would party every
hard.
weekend.
Lila Stafford is my guest, 29 years sobriety. She's also my co-host. We'll continue with her story as we continue today with Restoring Hope Live. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks. Seriously, thanks for listening. I couldn't do this job without you. You're listening to the all-new 99.3. We're just simply the truth. Thanks for listening. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
All right, 21 minutes after the hour of 2 o'clock on this 12th day of October in the Lord's year 2015. By the way, I want to say this publicly. And if you are a friend of mine on Facebook or you're a personal friend of mine, don't fall out of your chair when I say this. But I have lived in Iowa for almost 40 years. And I have never understood Hawkeye and Cyclone fans. I love Cyclone fans, but you don't have a team, and you never have. I'm talking football now.
Right.
And Hawkeyes, you've always been so arrogant that you think you're entitled to a good team. Now, of course, that comes from the fact that I am the most arrogant, pompous Nebraska fan you'll ever meet, and I admit it. Now, Bob, I know what you want to say. You want to say, Mac, you're not an arrogant, pompous guy at all.
Exactly. You took the words out of my mouth.
But when it comes to football, I am that. Well, I want to congratulate the Hawkeye and the Hawkeye fans because your team is outstanding, and I'm cheering for you. No, I'll cheer for Nebraska when we play each other on Friday after Thanksgiving, unless that game makes a difference to the Hawkeyes, and then I will be, for the first time in my life, I will be cheering for the Hawkeyes. I genuinely will. Nebraska's going through a rebuilding. We have lost the last 4 games. I don't know if you guys know this. We've lost the last 4 games within 1 minute of the end of the game.
Oh.
Going into the last minute, we have been ahead.
Oh.
They scored 9 points on us in 34 seconds last Friday or last Saturday.
Those are the worst kind.
Oh. I mean, you're just sitting on the couch going, honey, did you see that? See what? Weren't you watching? No, I was Googling something. We just lost it. What do you mean we lost? We were ahead by 9 points a minute ago. So to my Hawkeye fans, Timmy Ford and all those brothers I love, I'm so proud of your team. I hope you win the national championship or at least the Big Ten championship. See you in the Rose Bowl. That would be wonderful. Now, you're a Hawkeye fan, right?
Yeah, and I'll get to that eventually, but my drinking had a lot to do with the games.
I did it? Okay. All right, so Lila's telling her story, 29 years sober. Did you figure out how many days that was?
It's
got to be 10,000.
in my app.
Yeah, it's over 10.
I don't know, but it makes me mad because I keep thinking it should be more days than what it really is.
Why? Over 10,000 days?
I think it's more than that, but it just
Bob, take 365 times 29. Can you do that for me? And then in those 29 years, you'd have 4 into 3, so you'd have 8. So add 8 days for leap years. 8 times 4 is 32. No, add 7 days for leap years.
I just got to the computer. 365 times what?
29.
29.
Plus 7.
Plus 7.
Talk into your mic. I can't.
10,592.
Okay. All right.
That's even worse than I thought.
All right, let's go to our producer today, Frank the Verse Thomas. I'm so proud of you. You're such a good mama's boy.
Well, I just wanted to mention that my mom's birthday was today, and since she had me, I guess you could probably consider her a saint, putting up with me.
Well, I think she's a saint because you live with her, and she puts up with you now.
Yeah, well, that's a mutual thing. We put up with each other, but she's had a pretty rough go with 2 broken ankles, and she's just got home from rehabilitation and getting settled in, and hasn't been easy, and the pain's still there, but she doing pretty good and walking around and moving around with a walker. But I thought I would tell her happy birthday today. She's born in 1938.
Aww.
And happy birthday and what?
Happy birthday.
And I love you. Mommy dearest. All right, that's nice. You're a good son. You are. You've done a wonderful job these last few months taking care of your mom. And I know it's been on your mind. We've prayed for her. You're a good son.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. High school, Rough Riders, Roosevelt, every game, basketball, football, doesn't matter. You're all out partying. What did that look like? Was that at somebody's house, or did you find a country road, or where did you party at?
Well, we would party before the games, just at different people's houses. My dad was never around, so a lot of that always happened at my house.
Where was your mom?
My mom was killed when I was 12.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How was she killed? Car accident?
My parents were in Mexico on a vacation, and a teenage boy stole a car and hit my mother and another lady.
Oh, no.
And killed him. So that was, my mother was the center of our family. So when she was killed, it was like with 5 kids, it just disrupted everything.
Everything.
And my father was a doctor, so I barely knew him before that. And then all of a sudden he was, he had to take care of us, and he didn't know what he was doing. And it was not good, not a good time.
And your grandmother, her mom, lived with you.
She lived with us a year before. She started living with us a year before my parents went to Mexico. And during that year, my mom was cleaning out. She lived in this big mansion thing that my mother had to clear out that house. They made it into apartments. And then she just wanted to take a trip. So my parents went to Mexico for a few weeks just to unwind from having moved my grandmother. So my grandmother continued living with us after that.
So did she kind of become mom?
No.
But I mean, like house cleaning, cooking.
Oh no, we had.
You had people.
We had lots of people working for us.
Okay. Is the house that your grandmother had, is it still standing?
No, it was for a long time, and then that was torn down, and some other apartments were built.
What did your grandmother's husband do? So your grandfather.
He owned Quill Lumber Company.
Okay.
And they had lumber companies all over the United States.
Okay. All right. So when your mother died, did that have an impact on your drinking?
I hadn't been drinking up till I wasn't drinking it. No.
No.
No, I was too young.
That didn't start a drinking
No.
thing. How about your siblings? Where are you in the 5?
I'm the baby.
You're in the smallest. So did it impact your older siblings in alcohol or drug use?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. They didn't. Our family, although everybody drank or still drinks except for me, I don't think any of them. They're more social drinkers and they drink to have fun.
Okay. Did your father ever remarry?
No.
No. Okay. I'd like to go deeper into your mom's death, but maybe we'll talk about that sometime, and then if it's comfortable for you on the air.
Yeah.
Because that's quite dramatic.
Yeah.
To have something like that happen.
Yeah.
How did you find out?
My older, I think my father called his partner in business, another doctor, to come over to our house in the middle of the night and told my grandmother. Then they called, my 3 older brothers and sisters were in college. So Dr. Elliott called them and told them, so they all came home. And then my older brother came into my bedroom, and told me. And I was sound asleep. So when he told me, I didn't, I thought he was kidding. And then all of a sudden I remember the look on his face. He said, "I'm not kidding." So it was horrible, horrible, horrible. And she was the center of everything for us. And so to have that taken from you at such a young age,
And of course, your children never knew their grandmother.
No. And so my kids only know what she looked like because we have lots of pictures around. And my daughter Ashley, everyone says looks exactly like her.
Oh.
And I apparently, it's weird that I would have my hair pulled back today because my mom used to pull hers back. And there are lots of pictures around our cabin with my mom in this one swimsuit, and I tried on the same swimsuit, sitting on a surfboard about the same age, and we do look a lot alike.
Yeah. All right. All right. So her death didn't impact your drinking, just going to school and everybody partied. Now, when you partied, was it liquor? Was it beer? Was it pot? What was it back then?
There were no drugs in high school, and I'll tell you what happened in college with that. But it was kind of anything you could get a hold of, you just chugged, and the purpose was to get drunk.
Okay.
So, and everybody, I ran with a wild crowd, and that was in my world, that was everybody, and it was like the popular group, and
it was an affluent crowd.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was
mixed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but the purpose in this crowd was we had what was called the All Center Bums, and in fact, I think we've even had someone on here who was a part of that. But the ACBs, what was it
called?
The All Center Bums, and All Center, and the Roosevelt Shopping Center was right next to Roosevelt on 42nd Street, and so this group of kids used to just hang out there. And then they'd get in cars and scoop the loop and go downtown and come back around. But it used to be a place where everyone hung out.
Okay.
I can remember riding in the car with my father, going by there, and my father looking at these kids, which I normally would be there, but I was with my father that day. And he looked over and he was just bad-mouthed. He said, "Where are these kids' parents? Why are they doing this?" And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I would be there if I wasn't with you.
But he didn't know that.
He didn't know that.
All right.
No.
So when in high school, did you have a dramatic event that was alcohol driven, related, etc.?
Well, I had a couple of them, but one of them was sort of like a Cinderella story. And
you lost your glass slipper?
Almost. My father, when I say that drinking my mother's death didn't affect me, it did in some ways, but that isn't why I drank. But my father didn't know anything about clothing. I needed clothes, and he always thought I was lying to him, so he wouldn't let me go get. I had to get all my clothes for the whole year in one day at the beginning of the year. So it came time for prom, and I needed a dress. So I got the dress, and then I needed a slip, which back then everyone wore slips underneath, and he thought I was lying to him, so he wouldn't let me buy the slip. So I took a sheet that we had. I just pulled it off the bed and cut it up and pinned it to me. And nobody knew any different until I got drunk, and there was a ballroom, and somebody stepped on the back of my dress. I'm laughing about it now, but it was not funny then. Somebody stepped on the back of my dress, and the sheet came unraveling from underneath my dress. And I was drunk, and I just kept going, and the sheet's there. And it was just like, Cinderella having to give up her slippers at midnight. Anyway, I fell down the stairs, and somebody caught me at the bottom and put me in some car. They said, she's drunk, and just put me in a car. My date kept going, and he didn't care what I was doing. So they put me in a car, and the car took off, and the boys that were in my class at the time rented houses down in the Southeast Bottoms in Des Moines. And so this car took off, went to the Southeast Bottoms to this house, and it was the middle of winter, and I went inside the house. I guess I just passed out there. And at 6 a.m, somebody was knocking on the door. I didn't know where I was, and somebody's knocking on the door, and they came in, and it was another doctor that worked with my dad, and everyone else ran out the back door because they could hear him. Anyway, he reported to my father when he saw him at the hospital the next hour or so that I was at this place, and I was grounded for a month. Had my car taken away, my phone, everything.
All right, we'll continue with this story. It's Lila's story today. After 10,592 days without a drink, today she tells her story here on Restoring Hope Live. This is brought to you by Powell CDC. When you need help, someone you know needs help, you now have a friend. You have a friend at Powell, 263-2424. We're coming back on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 a.m, you'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
Live from the Service Legends studio, this is Restoring Hope here on The Truth 99.3. If this is the first time you've run into this radio station, perhaps you were scanning around the dial. We are new. We've been in Boone, Iowa for many years, but moved the signal into Des Moines starting July 1 of this year. You may recognize my voice. I've been on the radio here in Des Moines for 30-some years. If you go way, way back, you go back to KIOA. That really ages me. I mean the AM. And about 10 years, I was on 98, not quite 10 years. I was on 98.3. So if you hit 98.3 and you discovered classic hip-hop and you push scan, you're now here. This is Mac's World. Excuse me. This will be the last week that we're on from 2 to 3. We'll have another show coming in from 2 to 3, and I will be moving 3 to 5 for Afternoon Drive. Steve Dace will be on from 8 to 11, starting, I think it's November 7th, maybe, November 2nd, something like that. That'll be his new shift there. But Frank the Verse is here, and Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and our special guest and co-host today is Lila Stafford, 29 years sober. And in case you're wondering, she has made the decision 10,592 times to not drink today. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what do you mean not to? I make that decision every day, and well, but you're not allergic to alcohol. You're not an alcoholic. She is for all her life. And to go 10,592 days and make the decision today, I'm not going to drink, I would challenge any of you to think if you have done anything every day for 29 years, except your normal bodily functions. You don't get credit for breathing. So congratulations to you.
You know, along with that, being an alcoholic, I'm pretty much addicted to anything that feels good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've now gone a year without sugar, and it has the same effect on my brain that alcohol did. Once I started eating it, I can't stop. So I do better just not eating it. I don't eat processed foods and try not to eat any sugar that I know if sugar's in something.
Did you ever smoke cigarettes?
No, I used to carry everyone's cigarettes for them in high school because my dad was the only one that never looked in my purse, and everyone else's parents went through their things.
Okay. All right. So, your mom was killed when you were 12. That didn't impact your day-to-day drinking, but you did drink every weekend. And then you went to prom. Was that your junior prom, senior prom, sophomore prom?
I think it was my senior year.
Okay. Do you remember who your date was?
Yeah, and you know what? He went to Harvard Divinity School.
Really?
Yes. We're friends on Facebook now.
So you woke up in a place you didn't know, and why did that doctor friend of your dad's come to the house?
He was looking for his daughter, who was there, but she snuck out the other.
All right, but he told your father that you were there. What happened?
I was grounded for a month. My father was horrified because I'd lied and said I was at a girlfriend's house. And
but by the way, parents, I've raised 4 children. That's a fair amount. I think that's a fair amount. It's not Mother Hubbard who lived in a shoe with a dozen or two, but I've raised 4 children. When they tell you on prom night that they're going to stay at a girlfriend or boyfriend or a same-sex person's house, don't believe them. And if you do, there's a river in Egypt that's called Denial 2. It doesn't happen.
Well, that's how my kids were always upset in high school because they couldn't get away with anything because I'd done everything.
Yeah, right. I get it.
They were trying.
I get it.
So,
all right, so you're grounded for a month, no car. Now, that must have been a big deal to a 17-year-old girl back at Roosevelt in her last semester of a senior year.
It was, and I was really upset at first, but I'll tell you what, during that month, so any parents that are out there feeling bad that they had grounded their kids, it was the best thing that happened to me, you know, because I had time to really think about what I had done.
Yeah.
And it worked for that month. I mean, I was a homebody and had to do my homework and all that stuff. Or I guess I had swimming, but I thought I'd straightened myself out, and then I was out for 3 days, and it really was more innocent than it sounds. We went to the Bel Air for a dance, and I had a bunch of kids over at my house first before we went to the Bel Air. And my dad came home and caught a friend going through his liquor cabinet. And I swear to God, I wasn't going to drink. We got to the Bel Air and went to the dance. And afterwards, the police had checked all the cars in the parking lot, and we didn't have a ride home. So we jumped in a car with some kids we really didn't know, or maybe we knew them, but they said they'd give us a ride home. And they had alcohol in their car. So 17 of us were hauled off to the police station.
17?
17 people were jammed in this car.
Good Lord. What was it?
I can't remember what kind of car. It was bigger than normal.
I was going to say it had to be a Lincoln or a Cadillac.
But we were just jammed in there, and then we all got down there. My father always said, if you were ever picked up, don't call me. So they called everyone's parents, and then then I was the last one, and they said, we're going to call your dad now. And I said, don't, because he won't come after me. So, I was too young to know, but they showed me a cell with a dirty old man throwing up in there. And they said, you have your choice of going there with him, which they can't do, but I didn't know that. So they said, you can go in that cell with him, or we'll call Mitchellville. And I knew that was for young women who were in trouble. Or we'll call Mitchellville, and you can go there. So which do you want? And then I start crying. I said, call my father. But I'd just been out 3 days of not being in trouble. And my father came down, and I remember him. I'm 5'9". I'm tall. My father picked me up by my collar, and my feet weren't even touching the ground out to the car. And after that, I straightened up for a while, and then I went to college. I went to a private girls' school in Mississippi, and you had to sign in and out of where you were going. You had to double date. It was a really strict school. But nobody ever did anything about being drunk. And once again, you're attracted to what you are. So I was attracted to the wild, crazy girls. And we all drank. And I can remember one of the house mothers called me in the day after I came home one time, had me look at my signature from the night before, and you couldn't even tell that it was my name. And she was laughing about it. I was laughing about it. Nobody got in trouble. But I've often thought if somebody had taken the time then to get me straightened out or to get help, I don't know if it would have done any good or not. Okay,
let's move this ahead. And so you spend a lot of time drinking and dating. I know that you and Jim, as a married couple, drank together. Mm-hmm. And I was a bartender too. I taught school during the day and bartended at night. What'd you teach? I've taught kindergarten through college. Okay. And then a bartender. Where were you a bartender at? In Denver, Colorado. Okay. And what was that lifestyle like? Just like it sounds. Just crazy. Yeah, and I'd get drunk there, and my boss would fire me. And then he'd call me the next morning to come and clean up because he needed somebody to clean up the bar. So that happened quite a few times. So apparently it wasn't so bad that you'd lose your job forever. Right. What was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you? 1 minute. I would say waking up and wondering who I was with. Well, waking up and going through this guy's mail to find out what his name was, and it was Claude. Okay. And I thought, oh my God, I'm with a Claude. Anyway, once I was drinking and having fun, I had blackouts a lot. Yeah. And just thought everyone did. And then, and I know the story, you're at a restaurant with your husband in an island. Jim and I got married and went to a lot of, we got married, and the basis of our marriage was drinking. Yeah. And we used to go to the Iowa games, and mainly just to drink. And we were just talking about this last weekend. We left an Iowa game. We lived in Waterloo. We were driving home after drinking, not thinking anything of it, and ended up in a park. We have no idea. We were on a road to get to Waterloo, ended up in some park, state park, and woke up the next morning. In this park? In the park, and we had no idea how we got there. The rest of the story is coming right here live as we learn Lila Stafford's story here on Restoring Hope Live on 99.3 The Truth.
A father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Restoring hope, open my heart to sing, taking the darkness inside, revealing your light, restoring hope.
10 minutes for the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. For one more week, Steve Noble an afternoon drive, and then you'll hear me, us, Bob, Lila, me, Frank, Tom Coates, a whole cast of people as we move this radio program from 3 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 full hours as we go home. And the show will also be going back to my prior moniker for so many years. For so many years, it was Max World. Hatfield and McCoy, and then we had Mac and Amy. And then when I hit HO and when I hit 98.3, we were Max World. And that name will be coming back to host the show in the afternoon. So you and Jim met, and everything was around drinking. And you made the comment off air that many times you probably shouldn't have made it home. You know, you put yourself in difficult situations.
We had people, lots of friends who died from alcoholism, and none of that, or from alcoholic behavior and something happened, you know. And none of, you know, it would stop you for about 2 weeks, and then you just keep drinking. When
was that last low, I'm done, happen for you?
When Jim and I were in Florida, and I'm a step-parent to his children, and one of his son was eating some crackers and throwing them up in the air.
How old was he at this time?
He was probably 8.
Okay.
And eating them, you know, trying to catch the crackers with his mouth. And I put my hand on his leg, and I just said, we don't do that in nice restaurants. I've thought about that since. I thought nice restaurants don't really have those crackers. But anyway, I put my hand on, and I said, you know, we don't do that in nice restaurants. And Jim was drunk enough where he stood on the table and called me every name possible that starts with a B, and said for me never to talk to his kid like that again. And so I just walked out of the place and thought, I'm done. I'm leaving you, leaving your kids, everything. I've had it with all of you. And both of us were drunk. But I walked out, and then I thought, oh, I'm just walking home. And, you know, I got about a block, and I remembered that we were on an island and that I couldn't get home. And so I had to come back into the place. But I was still, it was interesting because I was so angry at him. And there were lots of people at the table. And the next morning, we were all flying back. We lived in Washington at the time. Jim was going somewhere out in New York. And when I got back to Washington, I just opened the telephone book for therapists I closed my eyes and pointed and called that therapist and just said, I want to leave my husband. but I want to see a therapist first so it looks good on paper. And so she just on the phone, not knowing me, asked me a few questions, and she said, "Well, first of all, we're going to have to get rid of the alcohol, and then we can start talking about other problems." I said, "That isn't the problem. The problem is he's just a creep. I just don't want to be married to him anymore."
How long had you been married?
3 years.
Okay.
Or maybe 5 years.
Okay.
Because it was 2 in Waterloo and then 3 in there. So it was somewhere in there, 4 or 5 years. And she said, "No, I can tell just on the phone that it's the alcohol." So I hung up on her because I thought, this lady's crazy. But I never forgot that. So when Jim came home, I told him that both of us were quitting or else I was out the door. And he knew I really meant it. And that he was going to go. Somehow I found out about AA, a 12-step program. And I don't know how I knew about it because I didn't, at that time, didn't know anything about it. But it happened to be across the street from his work, and he didn't want to go to that. So he lied to me for 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. And people are so astounded by that.
Yeah, I am.
But he never drank in front of me. He went out of town a lot on business, so he drank when he was out of town.
But he could go 24, 48, 72 hours and not drink.
Neither one of us, we only drank on weekends. So that was people always say, "Well, how can you be an alcoholic and only drink on weekends?" But it still is the same symptom. Once I started, I can't stop.
If you could go back and change, I know this is a relatively ignorant question because it's not possible, but if you could go back and change anything back in the older days, the younger days, that you think would have really impacted your life the most, what would it have been?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is probably to have somebody that I could have. I love psychology and talking about problems and stuff. There was no place to talk about any of that stuff.
Okay.
So maybe having an adult in my life that could actually talk that way with me.
Be a mentor.
Yeah, that I had to be accountable to.
Okay.
I don't know if it would have made a difference or not because, again, you're attracted to what you are. I'm attracted, even to this day, to wild, crazy people. I could go in a group of 100 people and tell you which ones were alcoholics or addicts because I like them and I'm attracted to them.
Do you think you would have married Jim had you known what you know now?
Because
you guys have been married 35 years?
33, I think, or 34.
33?
I don't know.
Okay.
I did get a nice present this year from him, though. But it was rough. It was very rough. And if anyone knows ahead of time that you have a rough road ahead, you may think, "Well, I don't want to go through that." But in hindsight, those were the lessons that the best lessons you learn in life are when you're in the valleys, when things are down.
Yep.
And you have peaks and valleys in your life, and you learn the most and you grow the most when you're in the valleys.
Yeah.
And a lot of our marriage was in the valley, but that was I had a lot to learn about marriage, about myself, about alcoholism. There was a lot to learn, and I know myself I couldn't have learned it any other way, other than to have my back up against the wall.
And I would tell you, I'm not going to ask you this question. If you want to disagree, you can disagree. But I would tell you that you are ending incredibly well. Sober, married to a good guy, beautiful children, beautiful now one, but soon to be two.
Yeah.
Both girls, right?
Yeah.
All right. Life's good.
Yeah.
And you're working with people who have addictions, and you're helping them. I know you know this, but for those of you listening who don't know this, the list of women that Lila has helped is longer than President Obama's donor card. There are so many people who Lila has helped, and I don't think we could put them all in the West Des Moines Marriott's hotel.
I'll tell you, one lady that I sponsored was laughing last week because she told me something that was kind of personal, and she thought that I was going to think it was weird. Well, I had a story about that, and she said, "There isn't anything I can say to you that's going to shock you." And I said, "It's because I've done everything, I've been there, done it."
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story with us. I'm sure there's a lot more. Maybe we'll hear more as time goes on. Again, this program, as every program on this afternoon shift on 99.3, moves next week. There will be a different show from 2 to 3. We'll be 3 to 5, and Restoring Hope Live will be 3 to 4 next Monday with our special guest. Brought to you by Powell CDC. Now, until I see you again, remember, somebody you need to forgive them. Please. Now, because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you at church.
Restoring